start. Okay, let's go back a little bit to page 167, um, which we had already read, but another who gave up all her worldly possessions. You want to pick up, Eugene?
Worldly possessions to be with Baba was a 25-year-old Arangown villager named Walu Pawar. When Mara first saw Walu, she was wearing what appeared to be wedding jewelry, heavy gold ornaments around her neck and wrists. But she had lost her husband at an early age and never married again. Walu had many cattle and land also. She told Baba she wanted to stay with him, and she gave him whatever gold and other property she had. She gave up everything to be with Baba. She worked hard from early morning till late at night and then went home to sleep. Upasani Maharaja's birthday was celebrated at Meherabad on Sunday, 10 May, with several thousand people participating in a huge feast and devotional program. Baba gave private interviews that day in the Hazrat Babajan school to any who requested it. Chanji, one of the early Mandali, arranged for a film to be brought from Bombay and shown for the occasion. Since there was no electricity at Meherabad, a portable generator was brought to run the projector. Interesting that they had them 100 years ago. After dark, everyone gathered inside the post office compound where the silent films Sant Sakhu and Basmasur Mohini were projected on the wall of the post office where a white sheet had been hung as a screen. The men sat together on one side of the veranda and the women on the other. Baba sat in the middle with his back to the women. Sant Sakhu is an Indian Cinderella story about a woman with a cruel husband and tyrannical mother-in-law who is drawn by an inner urge to attend a Krishna festival. While she is there, Krishna assumes her form and attends to her manifold household duties. The miracle is discovered and Sakhu becomes a saint. With the part of Sakhu played by a beautiful Italian actress, the film was quite engrossing to Mera, Naja, and Khorshid, who talked about it during the intermission. They spoke of how great the saint was and of her love for God and devotion to Krishna, even though Krishna was not in the body at the time. Mera felt happy that Baba himself was seated so near them and that they loved him as their perfect master and their God. With these thoughts in their minds, when the film resumed, Khorshid put out her hand and lightly touched Baba's sadra. Baba was very strict then, and they were not permitted to touch him, but at least they could touch his sadra. It was dark and no one saw her, they thought. So one by one, each of the girls touched Baba's garment. They really are young girls, aren't they? Playing that kind of game, yeah. But when Mera extended her hand and touched it, Baba turned and asked, "Who is touching my sadra?" She was caught. She told Baba it was she. He said, "I don't like it. When you are sitting behind me, you mustn't touch my sadra or me." After the film, Baba took her out of the audience and scolded her further. "Why did you do that?" he demanded. "Are you in the habit of touching men's clothing? Have you ever done that to anyone before? Be honest." Mera was shocked. "Oh no, Baba," she protested strongly. "The others touched your sadra, so I also wanted to touch it." "You must never do that," he said, and he warned her, "Don't do it again." "No, Baba," she promised. Later, Mera explained, "I had thought that since the others had a turn and touched his garment, why shouldn't I? Baba was not paying attention. He was absorbed in the picture, I thought. But as soon as I touched it, Baba turned around. I got so frightened with all the men around and Baba asking who had touched his sadra. All the happiness of touching the sadra left. I felt so shy. It was very upsetting. Baba would say things that made you feel very uncomfortable. But his scolding made me more alert and cautious in my actions. Mehera added, we were all very stupid when we came to Baba. Teenagers, just from school. Baba had to teach us how to behave with him, teach us certain things, how to be with a master. Why don't we grab Rolf Jackson while he's available?
Oh, Ralph.
Yeah, let's nab him.
I didn't know he had come in. Ralph, would you like to pick up? I don't know. He may not answering.
Reading. Well, I'm on my phone and I'm looking for the text.
Oh, it's tiny, huh?
I can hardly see. It's pretty small. If
Okay.
I turn the phone horizontally, there we go. Well, if it'll cooperate. During these months at Meherabad, Mehera remembered Baba looking very slim in his sadra, with a kerchief tied around his head. You know what? My glasses are absolutely potty filthy. I can hardly see the words.
Oh, why don't
May I
you
read after the next part? Can someone read and I'll clean my
Yeah,
glasses?
Rosalie, why don't you pick up?
During these months at Meherabad, Mehera remembered Baba looking very slim in his sadra, with a kerchief tied round his head. He would often take the dirty village children on his lap. They were dressed in rags, their faces filthy, with snot running down their noses. Baba would wipe their noses and ask them, doesn't your mother teach you to wash your face in the morning? They would reply that their mothers were busy. And Baba would go on to explain very lovingly that they must get up in the morning, wash their face, and take God's name before they had breakfast. Then during the day, when they were out minding the sheep, they must not swear, but instead should repeat God's name and sing bhajans. Baba sweetly sang them a bhajan and made them repeat it and learn it. Sing God's name, Hari Paramatma, he would say, which is the Hindu name for Lord God. Before he began keeping silence and was in seclusion so much, Baba would wash the hair of these village children who came to him at Meherabad. He never sat back and let others do it. Not one thing did Baba leave undone. He worked with the must, God intoxicated, the poor, the lepers, and bathed the village children. One day, Baba came to the women's quarters in the post office and told them to look in his hair. My head is itching, he said. Just have a look. We loved to touch his head. So the girls gathered round and parted Baba's hair. Each one looked carefully. They found a louse. Poor Baba was scratching. Then 2 lice came out of his head. Baba said he felt much better and left, saying he would have the hair of the children cut and washed with germicide. Small Khorshid had found one of the lice, and after Baba left, she went to Mehera and said, I have one of the lice from Baba's head. What should we do with it? Get rid of it, of course, said Mehera, Baba's told us to throw it away. Oh no, said Khorshid. It's from Baba's head. We should save it. Shall we keep it in a matchbox? Are, how can we keep a bug? Better throw it out. If this one goes in our head, soon there will be many more. And we have no time to clean our hair, which was very long. Get rid of it. Baba won't like it. He said to get rid of it. Mehera made Khorshid kill it. The next day, when Baba came, Mehera told Khorshid's idea of preserving this treasure. Baba had a good laugh and added, I hope you haven't kept it. Did you kill it or not? Khorshid said that she had thrown it away. Good, said Baba. They multiply very quickly. Games with the mandali were a frequent pastime of Baba's in the early days at Meherabad. Although he played gilli danda, atyapatya, and 7 tiles, cricket was his favorite sport. And one of the mandali, Homi Vajifdar, was actually a famous Indian cricketer. Baba would play cricket on the post office side of the railroad tracks. One day, when several visitors had come, Rustam from Ahmednagar, Ramju from Pune, and others, Baba told the mandali to bring the bats, wicket, and ball, and he ran inside the post office. Tie my hair quickly, he told Mehera. I have to play cricket. Baba was eager to play. After a gap of many days, he was very intense, interested, and excited about it. He held back his hair in a bunch and again urged Mehera to hurry as she went to get the ribbon box. She chose the finest, best colored ribbon and tied a broad bow. Baba rushed out the door, gathering his sadra and tucking it in at the waist of his white boxer shorts. He looked like a beautiful young girl, Mehera recalled. His sadra was open, not buttoned, and it fell from his shoulders. His fair shoulders were smooth and lovely, especially the nape of his neck. Baba's brown hair, shining golden at the tips, and the pretty bow looked adorable. From the post office, the women watched the men play in the adjoining field. I better read the sidebar though. Gilli danda is played by striking a small piece of wood, gilli, with a stick, danda. Atyapatya is a running tag team game for 7 tiles, which was played behind the Dharamshala at Lower Meherabad. When Baba's side was pitching, he would throw the ball at the 7 stacked tiles. But when the sides changed, he would not run after it. Let's see. Okay. From the post office, the women watched the men play in the adjoining field. The bamboo matting fence had not yet been erected. Baba looked just like a schoolboy, so slim and eager to play, a perfect bowler and fielder, an expert player. Baba kept wicket so beautifully, and he was also an exceptional batter. Baba played with enthusiasm. He was so intent in playing, bowling, and batting, he himself counted the runs. We watched from afar. In Karachi, Mehera had seen Baba batting inside the large hall, but, quotes, this was the first time I saw Baba play cricket properly, end quote. Baba also liked board games such as checkers and parcheesi. Once Mehera played checkers with his younger brother, Adi Jr., 11 at the time. Adi brought the game to the veranda of the post office, and though she was not very good at it, Mehera agreed to play with him. They were in the middle of the game. Then Baba came. Mehera was embarrassed, but Baba was not upset. I'm going to read the sidebar. Mehera only saw Baba play checkers at Lower Meherabad before he kept silence. She never saw him play again, nor did she ever see him play chess, and did not know if he ever did.
I wonder why she was embarrassed when Baba came and saw her playing the game.
Well, because it was with a boy, a male, I guess. You know how to, but Mehera was embarrassed, but Baba was not upset. You know how to play checkers? He remarked sweetly. Fine. Not very well, she answered. Adi asked me to play with him. It's all right. Little Adi Jr. said, Baba, I can play better than Mehera. I'm winning. But they stopped playing as Baba had come and put the game away. One day, before beginning his silence, when Baba was seated with the women, leaning against the pillar of the post office, he revealed that there would be another war, worse than the First World War. Quotes, you all think the 5 Years' War, as it was called, was bad, that many died in it, but it was nothing compared to what will be in the future. There will be another war, which will be much worse. All had trouble imagining how this could be so. Baba said other things also, but because he had told them not to write, they never took down what he said. On another occasion, he asked them, who is in love with me? Of course, they all were. But Baba answered the question this way, I myself am in love with myself. Who has that heart, that depth to love me? Who can love me as I ought to be loved? No one but me has that capacity. Baba would sometimes be in the mood to tell the women a story, and one day, he came into the post office in an exceptionally voluble disposition and said, come sit and I'll tell you a story about 3 princes. He began telling them the story, but after 10 minutes, he stopped, saying he would tell them more the next day. The following day, he continued the story for 10 more minutes, then stopped again, saying he would tell them more the next day. The third day, the story became increasingly interesting. Baba told it so well, Mehera said. He described things so beautifully that we could see it happening in front of our eyes. We were so engrossed in what he was saying. Our attention was on him the whole time. Shortly thereafter, Baba began his silence, and he never did finish the tale. We thought his work would be finished in a month or 2, Mehera said. We didn't know he would be on silence for so many years. We did not understand that he meant his universal work. We thought he meant his work with the school. Maybe, she concluded, he'll tell us in his next advent. We'll have to come back to hear the rest of the story. We must remember to remind him. Naja and Khorshid were also present, but none can remember the details of the story. All that is known is that it involved 3 princes, how they led material lives before being drawn to the path, and how they began spiritually inclined, and how they became spiritually inclined. After Baba began keeping silence, we never asked him about it, as it would have been too difficult for him to relate it while on silence.
Do you want to go on or should I pick
Yeah,
up?
I can go on. On 4th June, Baba intimated to both the men and women that from 15 June, he would keep silence and speak with them only by written notes and through hand gestures. Quote, I will observe silence for 1 year, end quote, he stated. I will not speak to anyone, but all should hold fast to my feet. Those who last with me until the end will be greatly benefited. Baba then left for Bombay for a week to buy cloth to make exercise uniforms for the school children, and the women accompanied him. Mehera remembered Baba fasting during the trip. When they returned to Meherabad, Gulmai had an accident and sprained her ankle. The high wooden ceiling of the post office had termites and birds nesting in it. Gulmai had been standing on a wooden table trying to clean the ceiling with a broom. She reached too far and fell. Baba himself applied plaster compresses to her swollen leg, changing the bandage daily. He said that he was postponing his silence until Gulmai could walk. On 26 June, Baba declared that he would observe silence from 10th July 1925. And a sign about his statement was painted and erected at the entrance to Meherabad. Notices were also, someone is unmuted.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And some, yeah,
Ralph,
okay.
let's see.
Notices were also printed and mailed announcing that Meher Baba would not speak with anyone for a year. On Thursday, 9 July, in a meeting with the Mandali, Baba gave final instructions for the supervision of the various activities at Meherabad and placed 5 of the men in charge. They were only allowed to communicate with Baba about their assigned duties at a specified time each day. The rest of the Mandali could speak to him only when Baba wished it. That afternoon, around 4 or 5 o'clock, Baba came to the post office where he told the women, from tomorrow, I will observe silence, but I will break my silence when I finished my work. I won't be coming to you. You must not be sad about it. Keep happy and do your duties. Adhere to the orders I have given you. This will please me. I'm read the sidebar. Their orders were that when it was cold, they must wear warm clothing in the evening. When they work, they must keep cheerful and happy, and so on. Moreover, they were to continue not to read or write and not to speak to men. He added very seriously, quotes, cook food for the children with love and care. Don't think they are villagers, so it doesn't matter how you cook. Do it with all your heart. You must feel that they are like our own children. Mehera commented, how Baba must have felt when he left our quarters to rest on the evening of 9 July. From the next morning, he was not going to talk, but keep silence. He knew that he was not going to speak for the rest of his life. We thought his work would be done in a month or maybe 15 days, and he would resume talking, so we were not worried. Baba told us that when his work was finished, he would talk. How long will his work take? We wondered. Then it went on. At first, we thought Baba would keep silence only for a week. Baba can't keep silence for so long, we thought. Then, after a week had passed, we thought he might keep it up for a month. How can one keep silence for so long? 1 month passed, then 2. 7 is a good number, we reasoned. He might keep silence for 7 months. Once or twice we did ask Baba, but it didn't help him to ask, when is he going to talk? We were shy to ask, so we wrote it down despite his orders. Baba, we must hear your lovely voice. How beautifully you used to sing. When will we hear you again? Baba read our note and said, I will speak later on. When my work is finished, gesturing K for calm, work. It will be in my own time. He said it to appease us, to keep us quiet. It was for his work, so we couldn't say much, complain. We didn't ask again and again. When he had come on the afternoon of 9 July, he had said very confidently that when his work was finished, he would talk. So we didn't think much about it. The first few days, it was very difficult. Baba felt to laugh and would quickly, I need more words.
I wanted to read some
Okay,
because I have to leave.
okay.
The first few days, it was very difficult. Baba felt to laugh and would quickly cover his mouth with a kerchief to muffle the sound. He held his lips tight, so he couldn't really enjoy the laughter. No sound was allowed to escape. He kept guard on himself at all times. To enjoy the laugh, that too he had to deny himself for all those years. To sing a lovely song also, he must have wanted to sing when he heard the stirring Qawwali songs. No one's voice is as beautiful as Baba's. He sang with so much feeling. He had a love for singing. To deny himself, to sacrifice all this, and not to hum is very difficult. Baba was so outgoing. He would want to tease someone. He was so talkative and full of fun. He would wink at one person and then go on talking seriously to another. So you knew he was having a joke with that person. His ways were like that when many were around. He couldn't be as spontaneous with gestures to say what he wished. For one who loves to talk, keeping silent was very difficult, a great sacrifice. Nadja observed, no one believed it when Baba first announced his plans to keep silence, because he was always so talkative, singing and joking. Before this time, Baba would sometimes say, am I talking too much? I am talking too much, no? I talk the whole day long. Those at Meherabad simply could not imagine Baba, who used to chat incessantly like Mani, being silent for an extended period. After beginning his silence, the women noticed that Baba had the habit of rubbing the thumb of his left hand and his forefinger together. A callus formed. Perhaps he was restless, Mehera speculated. As he was so outgoing, he needed some outlet to distract himself. Later, a Band-Aid was put over his thumb, so he would remember not to do this, and also to prevent the callus from becoming infected. Sometimes Baba would lightly snap the fingers of his left hand, producing a slight sound of the thumb and index finger rubbing together. Mehera did notice that Baba had been in a Jalali mood more often than before keeping silence, and that after keeping silence, he was milder. He began to use a slate to communicate his thoughts, which he would quickly wipe clean with his hand. After some time, he discarded one slate and began using another. The women took a nail and carved out his handwriting in this discarded slate to preserve it. One day, Baba called Mehera and wrote in English on the slate, "I love you." I was so surprised and happy I didn't know what to say. Mehera concluded, Baba loved us. He loved us very dearly. We must also love to make him happy. We are Baba lovers. We have that staunch, true love for Baba, to live by his word. For us, he has suffered all those years, and what he went through, only Baba knows. We cannot, but we love him, and that makes us happy. So we must love him more and more and more and more, and always make him happy. In the sidebar says either Gulmai or small Khorshid kept the slate. And there's some very beautiful pictures of Mehera as Radha in 1937. And I'm going to have to go soon, but I don't know if Eugene wants to share his screen. I could make him host. I don't know. Why don't you just start reading, Eugene, and see how far you get before I have to end this.
Oh, well, I think Rolf's glasses are clean now. How about
Oh, okay.
how about it, Rolf?
Okay, I'll give it a shot. You got Rosalie and Tina are, as they say, hard acts to follow. Thank you. Very good reading. Baba, thank you. After Meher Baba began his silence, other women were allowed to stay at Meherabad, inside the post office. Golmai, with her two daughters, Dolly and Perosia, Pilamai, Baba's spiritual sister from Karachi, Tamina Bomanji from Bombay, and her two children, and Kak Sahib's wife, Zorabai, with a young son. Zorabai was also pregnant at the time, and when the child was born, it was the first baby girl to be named after Mehera. About 15 women now stayed in the post office. They unrolled their mattresses at night and slept in double rows on the floor. In the morning, the mattresses were rolled up and piled in a corner before starting their work. Big Khorshid was in charge of chapatis and oversaw their production. Perosia was in charge of afternoon and morning tea. Sounds good, J. Bob. Everyone else contributed in one way or another to the general cooking, guided by Dalit Masi. You lost me there. Dalit Masi.
I'm not sure where you were.
Be still. Let me find it.
Here it is.
I'll
Dalit,
help us.
Yeah.
Dalit Masi. Dalamasi. They cooked tea outside in the new.
Yeah. Okay. Cooked outside in the new temporary kitchen. But they come continued to prepare tea in one corner of their room. They had a light breakfast of tea with chapatis, no butter, but lunch was served around 11. By 11 o'clock, we were hungry as hunters, Mara recalled, waiting for the dal and rice for days and days. We had tour dal, T-O-O-R, tour dal. Lost my place. Tour dal and rice for both lunch and dinner. But as long as we were with Baba, we didn't mind. Anyone know what tour dal is? Just plain dal. What does that mean? Lentils and water.
Maybe it's Irish
Salt.
dal.
But as long as we were with Baba, we were cooking for the Mandali, the school. All right. Because the women were cooking for close to 100 people, the Mandali, the school children, the wayfarers staying in a dharmashala, there was much to be done. At night, they had to clean the spinach of grit so that it would be ready for cooking in the morning. 2 large containers of rice, the size of a kerosene tin, were cleaned and cooked daily, and 1 container of dal. So much food had to be cooked. Much food had to be cooked. And it was hot inside the kitchen under the tin roof with the smoke from the wood fires. But we loved doing it because it was for Baba. Baba kept us all busy. In the evenings, despite Baba's silence, there was still bhajan singing. But Baba was mostly preoccupied with the school, and after starting his silence, he rarely visited the women. Baba's permission was necessary for anything and everything in the ashram. However, nothing was to be done without his approval. I need to read that again. Baba's permission was necessary for anything and everything in the ashram. However, nothing was to be done, said Mehera. We were to let him know everything. Baba himself instructed us to do certain things. How difficult it was for Baba. to manage all this, although there was Tata all around their compound, and the women could not see out. They could hear Baba's loud clap and would know he was nearby, calling someone. There was much activity in those days at Meherabad.
What's Tata?
That's those mats, like it can be a drape or a floor mat. It's bamboo woven together to form like you a rug or a drape or some kind, or like just a visual barrier or a wind barrier.
Mm. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you. Yeah.
Who'd like to pick up? Eugene or Rosalie?
Using his slate, Baba gave the women many additional orders to follow. After a few days, small Khorshid complained to him. Every day we are strictly adhering to what you have told us. You said if we followed your orders 100%, you would come to see us, but you hardly visit us. Baba promised to come more often, but he almost never entered their room. An old wooden tea crate was placed on the veranda on which he would sit. Here he had his meals, chatted with the women, and told them to massage his legs. Once he took the women outside their compound to show them the makeshift Tata cabins with tin roofs, where Rustam and Franey were living, and Sai Darbar, Sai's court, where Baba gave darshan to crowds. The Mandali had a large temporary room with a tin roof called Makan-i-Khas, House of the Chosen. And there were tin schoolrooms as well. 3 days after beginning his silence, Baba had started writing his secret book, which he said would be the Bible of the future. At first, he worked in the Jobti, but on 11 October, he moved into a small teakwood cabin, 8 by 5 by 3 feet. That's 3 feet high, constructed under a much larger teakwood table, according to his specifications. Because of its odd appearance, it was called the table cabin. It was placed under a neem tree. Teen, could you scroll down, please? Scroll up, whatever.
I'm coming. Gonna have to leave soon, but something about a neem tree.
Yeah, can you scroll down? I guess scroll down is what I need. And back up just a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It was placed under a neem tree by the road, where after a month, a duni or sacred fire was lit in a small pit dug by Baba himself. The table had first been put near the post office veranda. The women had thus had a good look at it and knew what Baba was enduring in order to write there. Baba always put himself to much discomfort and inconvenience, said Mehera. For example, he wrote the book inside a table while on silence and fasting, Anyone else who was writing a book would want to do so in the fresh air. Mara was still keeping all of Baba's things in the post office. Before beginning his work in the table cabin, Baba visited the women and instructed Mara about what he would need for his fast. She was to boil milk, and we need you to scroll, my dear.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting my coat on, so I'm gonna.
Why don't I just finish this paragraph and then stop the recording, maybe, Tina?
Yeah,
She was to boil milk and send it to him, but not to clean garlic or onions so that their smell would not get in the milk. She was also to make a chutney with half of a green chili pepper without seeds, stuffed with garlic and a pinch of salt, and then fried. Hot water for Baba to wash his face was also to be sent.
Mhm.
So, shall we pick up here next week?
yeah, what page is that?
You'll have to tell us.
Uh,
On top, it says 100.
176.
Beautiful.
Okay, I'll write it down. Can you write it down too, Eugene?
I sure can.
Okay,
Maybe make one of us host and we can chat quietly amongst ourselves after you leave.
oh, okay.
Thanks. And